Didn't realize. Good morning, everyone. It is 9 a.m. and I'm going to call the meeting of the Codington County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll start. It is Tuesday, December 14th, 2021. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Waterman, would you lead us today?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would just ask if you have a call, if you could silence your phone, step out in the rotunda to answer it. And also we are streaming live on YouTube. Item number 2, call for public comment. If there are any individuals who do not wish to come to the meeting, we will still accept calls from the public. The 2 phone numbers are 605-882-6248 and 605-882-6297. And those will be addressed during the open part of the meeting, and they are for information only and items that are not on the agenda. Item number 3, conflict of interest items. Are there any for fellow commissioners on the agenda?
No.
All right. Item number 4, action to approve the December 14th, 2021 agenda. Motion by Van Duzen. Second by Gable. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 5, action to approve the December 7th, 2021 minutes of the Board of Codington County Commissioners. Motion by Johnson,
I'll second.
second by Gable. Any additions or corrections?
Just to mention that amount on the change order, that it's in the minutes. We didn't actually mention it in the meeting, but it was something, we knew what it was, and that amount, it's in the minutes now. So that's what we were talking about, is that $10,638. So just for people's awareness.
All right. Anybody have anything else? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. We'll start with monthly reports. Director of Equalization will not be in today. So Cindy, would you give us your report, please?
Mine would be pretty brief. I did speak to the Township Association, the State Township Association on December 1st. They required a speaker to just go over what the auditor's office needs from the townships after their annual meetings. It was kind of basically for beginner treasurers and clerks. So it was very good. It was interesting for me to sit in on also. And then other than that, we have submitted our levies to the Department of Revenue. We still have not received an okay yet on our budget or our levies. I believe they have had a change in staffing and may be running a little bit behind this year. We did get an email yesterday saying not to print tax receipts until we hear from the Department of Revenue on the okay of our levies. And then the other thing we are doing is watching year-end budgets, and we do have 2 or 3 that are going to need supplementing with commissioners' contingency. And then the highway department, we do have a public hearing scheduled on the 28th, because that budget is going to need a formal supplement. And Rick will review some of that stuff with you, maybe during his monthly report next week. But
All right.
that's about it.
All right. Anyone have any questions?
Just on those 2 budgets where it looks like we're gonna have to supplement with our contingency funds. What can you give us a rough
One
idea?
of them is the planning and zoning budget, and as Luke said, marijuana issues, marijuana publications are what
Okay,
push his budget over this year. It's going to be not very much. And then the other one would be the Veterans Service Office, and that could be directly tied to the wage study because he did get a good wage increase.
Okay.
So they're both very minute amounts. Those are the 2 that I can think of right now. There is $250,000 in commissioners contingency, and when I look at the rest of the budgets, those are the 2 that I remember right off the top of my head.
so the formal process though is to pull it out of commissioner's contingency when we have to address that. Yeah.
Yep, I will
Okay.
have those numbers ready for you on December 28th, so you know exactly what has to be supplemented with those 2 specific budgets that I can recall right now. I believe there's only 2, besides the highway.
Okay.
Which requires a formal supplement because it's its own fund.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? Hearing none. Thank you, Cindy. We'll move on then to the Welfare Director's report with Sarah. Good morning.
Morning, Sarah.
Morning, sir.
you.
Okay, there, we're on. Again, I think this will be brief, just the services report, nothing really new stands out. Again, I feel like this isn't the most accurate reporting of the work that we're doing, but it's the reporting that we have right now, that we're just missing contacts that we're having with clients and things in this report. But I'll talk more about the Helpline Center's documentation as in a little bit later in my report. So continue, most of our contacts are with housing. That's the CARES, housing and utilities are the biggest support that we're providing through the CARES program with that. We did have another funeral. I believe. Any questions on any of the reporting there? We currently have, and this is what is hard to capture in that report, is the intensity of the families that we're working with. We currently have 2 homeless families and 1 recently homeless family that we're providing case management services for. And those are just very time intensive situations that take a lot of repeat contacts with them. So that's where a lot of our time goes, even though our numbers aren't necessarily high.
We can discuss, maybe I can help with some of the data. If you guys are recording the contacts, there's probably a way we could include that in this, so.
I think when we get so I met yesterday with Shauna from the Helpline Center.
Right.
And that software, and that's it, and we can
That'll
just
make
jump
it
there.
easier.
That
Okay.
should be going in February.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and so once we get that software up and going, my hope is, and that was what I told her, is that we really want that to capture, get a better picture of
Okay.
the actual contacts we have with people.
Right.
So,
I like the fact that we don't duplicate them, because then it skews the numbers as well, but
Right.
yet it would be nice if we could get a
Well-
handle on like how much time is actually spent for
So
them.
even though the number of individuals is kind of plateaued for the fall, you're saying that, because some of those are some pretty intense cases that you
Right.
still, the workload doesn't, you need to reflect that. Okay.
right,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right, yeah. So hopefully that will get better as we go. I'm holding out hope that the Helpline Center's computer system will do a better job of capturing that information with that. We had 2 other families contact us yesterday. Well, 1 individual and 1 couple contact us yesterday that are homeless, and we don't really have options. And so that's the challenge in our community. And so I just want to keep letting you know that they are here. We have those issues. People are getting evicted. People are not doing the things that, that we look at, like you just need to do, but it's not that simple. And so we still have these challenges in our community. And these are people that live in our community that are homeless today. So we're trying the best we can to help out with different options for them, but the options are limited.
When you say homeless, are you talking like totally on the street, or are they living with other individuals?
These families that we're working with right here are, well, no home, like not staying with anybody, staying in their car. 1 had some other supports and they were able to work to get her some temporary housing. So, but these are individuals that have nobody else to stay with, that are on the street. So, yeah. So yeah, we'll continue working with them, but figuring out what we can do. So,
So the options, like say the apartment and the church, that's occupied right now.
yeah,
So-
and that, yes. The other piece of that is that's a temporary, and we want that to be temporary.
Right.
We want it, we don't want that to be a
Mhm.
free long-term place for people to live. People
What
have
is
to be
the-
working towards permanent housing if they're gonna stay there. And so that we have expectations. One of the things I'm working on is a document showing kind of the success, for in quotes, for that. People that leave there with permanent housing versus people that leave there without securing
Right.
permanent housing. We've had a pretty good success rate, but the last few that have come in haven't done what they needed to do to get permanent housing. And so we've we've had to have them leave without having permanent housing.
Right. But sometimes they have to help themselves.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
it comes a point. that-
Yeah, and that's it. We're here to empower, not enable.
Mhm.
And that's a big thing that we don't want to just allow people to not take responsibility for themselves too.
Right, because you've had successes of people who are willing to do
Mhm.
that, so that's.
Yes. And
I
if,
mean-
and if people have done the work that, we set up a care plan, goals that they're supposed to do every time, and if they meet those goals, they've been successful in finding permanent housing. So
Do you work with brothers and sisters behind bars with the women,
closely.
with that one?
Yeah, very closely.
And then they're the ones who supervise the apartment too, right?
Right,
Mhm.
yeah. So, yeah, currently Stacy, who's the director with Brothers and Sisters Behind Bars, is filling in for some of the ICAP pieces. She's not doing the county pieces, but she's coordinating some services with ICAP. So she's actually been in her office quite a bit. It's been nice to have that,
Yeah.
that communication and partnership.
Because they have that new location that's for women only that, I
Yeah.
think last time I talked to her, I believe that was full too though, so.
Yeah, yep, and they're doing a great job housing people as well
Mhm.
there. Yep,
Yeah.
and moving people on to permanent housing.
Yeah.
too. They have a little more flexibility
Right.
in that. So, yep, but it's been.
So yeah,
wonderful.
that can be a stepping stone sometimes.
Yeah, that
Interim.
transitional housing is really what we need
Mhm,
with that. Mhm.
for sure.
Yep, yeah. Okay, it's for the CARES for November, it was 100 hours. I forgot to put the dollar amount of what it was, but pretty similar to last month there. But the thing to know is that we received an email from Lorraine at South Dakota Housing, and starting in 2022, they're not going to do the contracting with agencies anymore. And so we just got that email. So we've been communicating. I did talk to Cindy about this. They want all agencies that are facilitating the CARES funding or the ERA funding to become a subrecipient. And so that's going to change our contract. That means what they'll do is they'll send the county a pot of money, and then we will be responsible
Mhm.
for dispersing that funding. Our processes will all basically stay the same, but we'll be responsible for the payments instead of the South Dakota Housing Authority.
So it'll be,
And we'll still receive payment for working on
Yes.
cases. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, so will that cause any additional reporting and recording requirements,
Yeah.
like
We're gonna build
similar?
in some new budget numbers specifically for those line items, revenue and expenditure budgets. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically like,
Yeah.
basically receiving another grant.
Right,
like pass-through dollars sort of thing.
yeah.
yeah.
I think Pennington and is it Minnehaha, they do that right now,
Yes.
those two counties, so.
Yeah, they do. And so I did contact both of them and asked, and they have managed to work it out.
Mhm.
And so we can
Hmm.
contact them for.
Don't have to reinvent the wheel. Okay.
Yeah. So my plan is hopefully, I did send the contract to the state's attorney, and so hopefully we'll have that back and I can bring it back for approval next week, is what I'm hoping. That will do that. So it is a change, hopefully. However, that program has been huge for our community, and currently, because of the staffing shortages at ICAP, our office has been processing almost all of those applications. And so if we weren't doing that, we wouldn't have anywhere in Codington County processing those applications. So it's significant for our community to continue doing that. Any questions about or concerns about that? Okay, I'll be
I'd be
back.
curious just to see the numbers on the apartment downtown and see how that's
Okay.
working out for us. So
Yeah, I
in
will.
one of your upcoming reports. see-
Okay.
I think you mentioned
get that.
that, Lee. but-
Yeah.
Mhm.
ICAP, their new employee is starting this week. Hopefully we'll get some training with her next week. That will be huge on lifting some of my load to get that she'll take over that case management piece with that. So that'll be huge. I'm very, very much looking forward to her starting that. I mentioned the Helpline Center that we are starting that process for the software system in Codington County. This is from that Bush Foundations grant. Our office is the one starting the software in the county, and then the hope is that once we get up and going, it will be easier to onboard the rest of the community. And so met with Shauna yesterday to get our software system in place. The hope is that they'll build it out in January and we will implement it in sometime in February. Also start having those community meetings with the stakeholders
Right.
in February for that.
And the importance of that will make the process of sharing information secure and That will help a lot.
It will go such a long ways towards tracking referrals, seeing where clients are getting services and supports, and that closed loop referral system. So if we make a referral to somebody, we can go on and see where the follow-up with that has been.
So there's a built-in so you have to have a waiver though from each of those clients to do that, right? And so is that kind of built into the software where it's like a digital?
Yeah, there is a
Signing
release
in.
of information
Okay.
included that will be part of the software.
And only those individuals or those social services will be the only ones that will be able to access that. The
Correct.
ones who pay into that.
Yeah, and all users will have their own unique sign-on and will have a user agreement with that. We are working on the insurance piece, and so I think, I'm hoping we've got it worked out, but we just need to check out a few things. So,
Okay.
yeah. And then the community health worker grant, I am working on that. We met with Brad and Matt and Becky to identify our target population and needs. That's the sheriff, the state's attorney, and the detention center director. And so, and then I'm also communicating with the Department of Health regarding the potential to increase the amount received to fully cover. And they were meeting today. And so hopefully, I haven't submitted that grant yet, waiting to work out a few of those things with that. So just to give you an update on that though, we did have 2 students from Lake Area Tech job shadow 1 week each at different times. In addition to the job shadowing, they also started going through some of our files and helping out. So that was helpful to have them there and that learning about our office, but helping us out as well. I'm in my final week of the NACO leadership course. It's been a wonderful opportunity. So thank you for supporting that opportunity to do that. It's been fantastic. And then today is the South Dakota Homeless Consortium meeting. It's on Zoom starting at 10 o'clock today. I'll be attending that to look at what we can do in Watertown for that homeless population for that. As far as the system of care, we aren't having an interagency meeting this month due to the holidays. We did have 36 people attend the November meeting. Resilient Communities continues to move forward. I did a train the trainers so that I can be a trainer for the ACEs resiliency training. I need to do a few partnered trainings to be able to be officially approved, but the hope is that then we can expand that opportunity throughout the community and really help our community become informed for ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences, and how to deal with that. And then strategic planning, this is a huge thing. And I don't know if our community understands how big this partnership is, but the fact that all 4 agencies, the county, the city, the hospital, and the community foundation all came together to partner for funding and to say that we want to work together to do strategic planning for our community. We have a steering committee of about 15 people representing about 15 agencies in our community. That's huge as well to have all of those people sitting at the table working together to address our needs in the community. So I have been in touch with a consultant for that, and our plan is to start those meetings in January to move forward with the strategic planning.
Yep.
So
And I would thank you for that. We haven't had that sort of cooperation amongst agencies for a very long time. So appreciate your work on this and getting that going. So
well, thank you. At the right place at the right time. So it has been exciting to be moving it forward.
yes.
All right. Any other questions? I will get those apartment numbers for the next report.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I am too.
All right.
Thank you.
No
Thank
other
you.
questions? Thank you, Sarah. All right, let's move on to item number 7, action to approve auditor's account with treasurer and note monthly registered deeds fees.
The monthly register of deeds fees collected in November were $42,801.85. And then you have the treasurer's auditor's account with the county treasurer, shows you the cash on hand as of the last business day. The second page shows you where our cash fund balances currently are.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion by Van Duzen, second by Waterman. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 8, action to approve an agreement with Journal Technologies for state's attorney's case management software. We have Becky here this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Cindy had a summary for you. What I am looking to do, our case management system is called Justware. And we've been using that case management system since 2002. Unfortunately, the company has decided to no longer support that product. And they have gone to a new system called eProsecutor Online, which is a cloud-based product. It's all by the same people. So all of our information in Justware will be migrated into the new system. Unfortunately, though, it comes at quite a significant amount more money. I did explore some other programs. They are all similarly priced. And this program, I guess, a couple features that we like. First of all, it takes all of our old information in, so we're not losing that information. Secondly, it does forms for our staff. A lot of the programs don't have forms, and our staff likes those forms and uses those forms. It will also have better tracking system on us for our discovery system. They've told us that they're exploring some partnerships with Exxon, which is what the police department uses and Game Fish and Parks uses for their body cam videos and dash cam videos, that would be able to be eventually, if they can get that partnership going, integrated into our system more easily. They also have some discussions with, I think it's called Central Square now, but it's Zerker, and helping to interface some of those. Zerker itself does have a product, but that product just isn't as user-friendly for our office staff. When I've talked to other state's attorneys using that one, their office staff doesn't like it. So the cost of it would be, it's an annual hosting fee of $25,000 a year. Currently, we have 8 users, and I don't anticipate we would need, it goes up to 10. I don't anticipate we would need that. And then we have a storage fee of about $17 a month for them to store our stuff. The other item, we will actually be able to use our laptops or our surfaces in the courtrooms and access all of our documents through that, because it'll be a cloud base.
Is this a maintenance agreement as well included in
Yes,
that?
all a part. It's a great,
You did, you mentioned you
Updates?
did budget for it.
I budgeted for it. Yes, it's in my
Okay.
2022 budget.
That question's good.
Yes.
So
It
when
makes
will
it a lot
this
easier.
be implemented then?
It would, if we sign the agreement, we will then get on their list, and hopefully early 2022, they will get all of our information transferred over to the new product.
So what, just to give us an idea of what was the previous cost, just to give us a rough idea?
It was, I want to say, maybe about 6,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
It was, yeah,
Yeah. quite
it's a
steep.
substantial.
This is the same company,
it's the-
basically just changed it to the iCloud and
Correct.
upgraded their service.
Yes.
Okay, and just so people understand what we're talking about here, I mean, the caseloads of a prosecutor's office, I mean, this means
So
it makes it a
every-
lot easier to manage all that.
Correct. Like
all the-
every case we get goes into our system. We are then able to track court dates. This one will allow us to actually track discovery within our program, and some systems on that, and also share it out better than it is. But it's a tracking, and it's where we keep all of our documents, and we're able to generate all of our documents.
So like when you see a lawyer walk into a courtroom with like a stack of stuff, this is what, that
Correct.
stack of stuff
It's
is
the
what.
computer behind
Yeah,
the stack
is
of
what-
stuff, and maybe someday we'll get away from taking a stack of stuff to court with
Well,
us.
if you- if you
I-
do it on your
It's gonna be
laptop,
on
We
a
all like
surface.
paper. We all like
Everything's gonna be
paper
surface.
though. We
But
like
if
to
you can-
touch it.
You know,
Maybe take
and
it-
really that $25,000, it seems like a lot of money, and really it is. It's proprietary software that really nowadays you have to have. I mean, really, Central Square is very expensive for us and our CAD system as well. And
Mhm.
if that's part of the maintenance is included in
Yep,
that and
it is.
stuff, that's,
They've upped their prices by fourfold.
Yeah.
And it's the best one on the market that suits our needs the best.
Yep.
Not necessarily saying it's 4 times better than what it was,
No.
but that's the way it is today.
just for the record, Becky, you have researched other
I have.
programs as well, and they're not
Yes.
meeting your needs. So I would make a motion to accept this.
Second,
Motion by Van Duzen, second by Waterman. Just waiting for Cindy just to get
Yeah.
some figures together.
I was just curious. That's just a curiosity.
We don't have to have any updates, not hardware, any new computers or anything
No,
like
no,
that. Yeah.
no, our computer systems are fine.
Yep.
I did check with Connecting Point and what we have in place for servers and all of that meets their specs.
We'll
So-
support that.
This is for 1 year and.
And every
the
year,
next-
it'll just be
and
a budget item that I'll,
The following year, it will be whatever price they
they tell me it
put
is.
on
Yep.
it is.
We're at their mercy.
So we aren't into a contract with them.
Yes.
It's only year by year.
It's year by year. Yep.
Okay.
That's what I meant to say.
I will let you know after the meeting.
Okay, no problem. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion
Thanks.
carries. Thank you,
Thanks.
Becky.
Yep.
All right, let's move on then to item number 9, action to approve the purchase of 2 patrol vehicles as budgeted in 2022, and that would be with Sheriff Brad.
Morning, Brad.
Morning.
Morning,
Bradley. How's everybody today?
Good, thank you.
Wonderful.
How about you?
Good. Good. It's not snowing yet. so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right, well, like I say, for 2022, I have 2 patrol cars that are budgeted for replacement of next year here. And last time I was in with you guys, I mentioned that I was gonna send out local letters for local bids for patrol vehicles. I did that. I did it actually a couple months earlier, knowing all the COVID issues with supply and demand and trying to get everything. I got those letters back on December 6th, which would have been the last Monday. And in the letter, it says that this is from Watertown Ford. They're the ones that responded. And they said that you had to order these vehicles by December 8th, which was of course 2 days after I get these letters. Otherwise, you can't ordering. Ordering is done for the year. I reached out to the state bid, the person that had the contract there, and I confirmed that. I said, do I have until Wednesday at 5 to order these? And he agreed. He said, you have until 5 o'clock today to get your order in. There's still no guarantee that you'll get your vehicle if we do get the order in. But we have until 5 o'clock last Wednesday. So I reached out to a couple commissioners just to kind of fill you guys in and kind of get a couple opinions. I did place an order for 2 Dodge Durangos with Watertown Ford here locally. The price was $35,221 a piece. It was around $900, something like that, more than the state bid. Like I say, we have bought locally here. In the past, they've always taken our vehicles in on trade-in and they've treated us really well on those. So I did.
This
place
is a
an
no
order.
trade price. This price is.
This is the straight price, yeah.
Straight right, buy outright.
Buy
price.
outright price. That's
Okay.
a little bit more than the state bid price. Like I say, I did place an order on that. They said we have until today or tomorrow or something. If for some reason you guys did not want to go that route and go a different direction, we sure can. We can cancel it.
But you don't have to go get them. They're right here.
And like I say, they're right here. If we were to order them through state bid, I'd have to drive to Pier with several people to go pick them up. So the transportation costs and everything would equal out to be about the same. But Watertown Ford has treated us well in the past.
and even on the trade-in, you don't know if that dealership in Pier would take them in on trade-in.
Typically on state bid, they won't take them in on state bid. But like I say, locally here, I know they've treated us really well on our trade-in.
I just had a couple questions, Brad, and not being critical of ordering them. But I was looking these over and I see the one that responded to us had a 5.7 liter, 355 horse engine in it.
Actually, that was a engine delete down to the 3.6 liter V6.
Okay, that was my
Personally-
question.
Personally not a fan of the Hemi and the smaller vehicle like
The
that.
5.7 was the state bid with Wigner.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
with Wagner.
Okay.
And then they say that I also, if you look on there, I highlighted the delete of $1,200.
And the other one I didn't see, and it's probably included, is a 220 amp alternator.
Yep. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing it is, yeah. Probably similar package.
Because you guys lose quite a bit of power. You use quite a bit of power.
We do,
Auxiliary.
with our radios and our equipment, with our LED equipment, the light emitted diodes, new technology. It's a lot less power that's been needed, but we still do use quite a bit of power to
Because that's a lot of, that's a big alternator for a vehicle.
That is, yep.
And the only other thing I see is one has got a dual headlight, or you're both gonna get the same spotlights or whatever.
Yep, they're both gonna have driver's side spotlights mounted in there and that, A-pillar post that they call it there.
That was just curiosity, not being,
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of these 2 vehicles.
Motion by Gable,
I'll second it.
second by Johnson. Any more questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. All right, so we have one more item in relation to your office is item number 10, action to accept the resignation of a sheriff's office public safety support tech.
I have one of my office staff there that is took a position with the clerk of court's office. She's gonna be the clerk of the clerk of courts, the main head person there. So looking to
I'll make a motion to accept a resignation.
All right, motion by Gable,
I'll second it.
have a second by Johnson. Any other comments, questions?
Do we need to say her name, or is it okay just to?
I have to mention it in the minutes.
Okay. so
I mean,
the-
it's really not anything
Yeah.
confidential.
okay.
Lisa Felch.
Lisa Felch.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right, with that, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. All right, then the next one is action to advertise and hire to fill a vacant sheriff's office public safety support tech.
Vote approve.
Motion by Johnson, second by Gable. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Brad. All right, moving on then to item number 12, action to approve the purchase of a Freightliner dump truck is budgeted in 2022. And we have Rick here with the highway. So good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
Morning, Rick.
Here,
Take one and pass it, or they all
Yeah.
say, okay.
I forgot to send these to you, so
Oh, Cindy
take
needs
one
one.
and pass it on.
Oh,
That,
Cindy has
it's
one.
the description of the truck. It's the same as what we bought.
Okay. There's one in the packet. so-
Okay, sorry, I didn't know it was,
That's okay.
there's one coming around with the description of the trucks.
okay,
I forgot to send this one to Cindy. So it's basically the same truck that we bought 2 years ago that we put into service this year. It's going to replace a truck that's got 200,000 miles on it. And there's no guarantee that I will get this truck next year because the way things are, it's kind of like Brad. We're at the mercy of someone else.
well, look at we just have to look back at history a little bit and how long it took to get the ones that we have now. And the boxes that would go on it.
The trucks came relatively quick. It was the boxes on the last ones that,
It was a long
Yep.
process.
and that, I have a quote on the boxes, but that quote won't be good until after the trucks come, because they won't give you a quote that far ahead because we have no idea when the trucks are gonna come. So
Okay, so let's start from the beginning with this truck. Tell us about it. Why do you need it?
It's going to replace a truck that's got 200,000 miles on, and it's going to go into Titan's shop after the first of the year to have some work done on it. It's got a bunch of codes going on, so we're gonna try and limp that through. Actually, I need 2 trucks, but I only have 1 budgeted, so.
I'll make a motion to approve this purchase.
No second.
All right, motion by Gable, second by Van Duzen. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Opposed, that motion carries. Thanks, Rick. All right, item number 13, action to approve a funding agreement with USGS for flood monitoring services as budgeted. Cindy?
Is this the one we do every year?
Yep, this is an annual contract for funding agreement for the operation and maintenance of 1 stream flow gauge, 2 real-time flood monitoring stations, and 2 real-time precipitation gauges for January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. And the cost to Codington County is $9,933, which is comparative to what we have been paying.
Move to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Johnson, second by Waterman. Any other comments or questions?
And I believe this is a tool that the Emergency Management Office relies on.
During flooding. Yep.
Yeah, and it's available to the public too on a website.
Yep.
So that's kind of nice to know.
All right. Any other comments,
USGS
questions?
website.
Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item number 14, action to approve a contract with the South Dakota Department of Health for community health nursing services as budgeted.
This is another annual contract for our community health nurse services. The cover letter says that the increase for 2022 is a 2.4% increase to the county, which brings our annual payment to $14,509 for another year of community health nurse services.
Move to approve.
Motion by Johnson,
Second.
second by Van Duzen. Any comments or questions? Did we allow for that in the budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a yearly thing.
Yep. No, I just mean the
Increases have been
increase.
Oh, the increase,
Yeah, the
yeah.
increase part, but yes.
Sorry about that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 15, action to approve the 2022 MOU with SDSU Extension Services for the 4-H Youth Program Advisor as budgeted.
So moved.
And this is another annual contract. $21,136.53 will be the county's contribution towards the SDSU youth director salary, with SDSU paying the remainder.
Got a
Second.
motion by Johnson, second by Waterman. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Discussion, possible action to consider funding for the Human Service Agency appropriate regional facility. I don't know if Carrie was planning on coming today, but I guess she was here and presented to us. She is working on something else, so I guess she was hoping to get an idea of what the county might be willing to put towards this project, so that she can, whatever grant sort of information that she's trying to gather going forward, so that she knows what she has already guaranteed, basically. So
I think it would be nice for her to, and I hate to have her keep coming back, but to have a request from the county instead of us just throwing out an arbitrary number about what we would like to
she
support.
kind of just said, it's hard for her to exactly say that. It's kind of what we can afford, basically. It's what her ask was last time, was what you feel you could contribute towards
This would
this.
be an annual contribution.
No, a one-time fund.
This would be
a
a
one-time.
one-time fund.
Yes.
This is something to keep mental health people to safe home, and work on the overall picture of reducing the number of people in our incarceration facility. What do we have in our contingency fund, Bindi?
We have $250,000. We
I'm
have
sorry?
not spent any of it. We will need to supplement
250?
250,000. We will need to supplement the zoning budget, the, which other one? Oh, veteran service possibly. And the third one that I just remembered was Memorial Park. There are almost enough funds left in Memorial Park's budget to pay the second half of that chip sealing. So it's less than $2,000 that we need to supplement that budget. So you're going to, and then the commissioner's budget is, and the commissioner's budget also has extra funds.
Is this something that we would want to discuss in an executive session?
You can't.
You can't, no, it's.
It's not-
Any
it's
idea?
not a-
Well,
It's not a
okay.
topic for executive session.
So-
Sorry.
Any idea what the city of Watertown is contributing to this
I
project?
talked to her. She does not know that, or what Prairie Lakes, they haven't given her any definite amounts at this point.
It's a good,
This is something that you, would, if you want to use the commissioner's contingency, you would have to do it by your final meeting, which is scheduled for December 28th. So you do have a couple weeks to,
So we can put this on next week's agenda. Would that be all right?
It would be helpful to see, because like Carrie had
Yeah.
she had a tally, like the overall cost of the project and some of the, like the state contributions and a couple other ones that were.
To me, it would be nice to know a number about you know, and rather than just throwing out an arbitrary number. I mean, I'd like to know where she's gonna fall, what the shortages are gonna be.
Yeah, I agree with you,
Of
but
course, they'll take it maximum, they'll take it maximum amount,
Sure, yeah.
and
This is
there
that
wouldn't be any
sheet.
restrictions on that.
okay, that's the one, okay.
What is it?
So, so far, Division of Behavioral Health is going to put 2 million towards that. Human Service Agency Foundation, 600,000. Watertown Area Community Foundation, 300,000. Premier Bank Card, 50,000. And that's what was on this sheet at that time. So,
Well,
What do we donate to the Boys and Girls Club every year?
Oh, that's,
$20,000. Let me see what our
and then
payment
we
was
will
here.
be adding some for that,
And we
the
have to-
deflection
yeah, we have
coordinator.
budgeted more for
yeah,
next year.
we will be
I do know though
a lot
that
more for the deflection
that
coordinator.
Hugh Bartles has been, I've been visiting with him about these regional facilities, and he's really pushing hard to get some funding.
18.5 is what we paid the boys. and
25?
girls. 18.5 is what we paid the
18.5.
Boys and Girls Club this year. I'm not sure what they're up
Thank
to
you.
But
next
it,
year.
well, yeah, there's
Well,
two,
and then next year there'll be an additional amount
all-
for the,
the deflection coordinator, or
Yes.
deflection diversion.
yes.
not
because we
deflection
did, we put something towards their capital campaign.
Who's-
Yeah.
The Boys and
Boys
Girls
and
Club,
Girls Club.
But that's over.
Right, but what was that amount? Do you remember?
was that 25,000 a year?
Hang on.
I remember, yeah.
That was for like
Something like
4
that.
or 5 years,
Yeah.
3 years, something like that.
This, they're asking for the money up front. It's not over a 5-year or 3-year
No.
period. It's,
It's a one-time.
Yeah.
A couple of things to keep in mind, as we do, I mean, I think, you know, is this Carrie, is there an urgency on Carrie's part to get, I mean, if we wait till next week, is that okay, or is it that urgent that she needs to know
Well, it seems
something,
somewhat urgent.
this
Let me
week?
go back
Because
here.
probably these other entities are sitting at the board table right now saying, well, what's the county gonna do? You know,
Yeah,
That's
well,
really
and that's,
Yeah.
that's.
Okay.
waiting for somebody to
So
jump.
what she's working on is, she might need to have a special appropriations bill. So she's getting pressure from other sources to know what she already knows as far as funding from
Okay.
other entities. So that's what she's working on.
So a bill just for this particular appropriate regional facility, or
I'm
or
guessing.
or appropriation fund, I guess, but so and then the other thing to keep in mind with this, you know, the ARPA funding that we're getting from the federal government for COVID, if we get more flexibility, there's other legislation in Congress right now in the works that might give us a bit more flexibility at the local level. And that might also allow us to help additionally if there's more money. I
Right.
don't know. This would be a good use, but because like Commissioner Waterman was saying, this is one of those things that feeds into the system and helps us with the justice system. And hopefully, you know, has an effect on the jail, has an effect on people involved in the criminal justice system by reducing that number.
And this is also a northeast South Dakota thing. So what I'm kind of waiting to hear and interested in finding out is what are these other entities that are involved in this? What is their contribution towards this, or what are they contributing?
Well, I told you the ones already.
Yes.
She just did not know from Prairie Lakes or the city yet when I.
But
asked
there's
her that
no
question.
no counties have kicked in anything or anything like that.
Other counties not that I'm aware of. I didn't specifically ask her
They're
that. I
just not
asked
on
her-
that list right
Yeah,
now.
I didn't ask her that. I asked the specific question about Prairie Lakes in the city of Watertown. And there was,
Can you see that sheet again?
which one?
That one, I don't know, yeah, I have it on my computer somewhere.
Do we need a motion to put it on next week's agenda? or the
No, we
second?
could just put it on next week's agenda
Maybe
if
just
you
agree
think.
to Continue discussion next week.
Either
It
way-
was just discussed
Either way, if we're gonna
possible
take it out of contingency funds, it has to be done before the 28th, right?
Right.
by the 28th.
So
which
we
is your
could do
last
this,
meeting of
we
the
could do this on the 28th.
By the 28th.
Let's do it, let's try to do it next week.
I'm sure they'd like to, the
Let's-
sooner the better for
yes,
them.
Yeah, she needs
course.
to have. And if you feel, I will put the invite out to her to come for next week. I will do that.
It'd be helpful to have the latest
an update. Okay, I will do that. We'll put it on the agenda then for next week and continue this discussion. All right. Then we are up to item number 17. Dan is here, so it would be okay to do it a little ahead. Are we all right?
Yeah.
All right. Dan Lederman is briefing us on the Summit Carbon Solutions pipeline. So,
I brought some handouts in case they weren't distributed already. I've got just kind of the overview here.
okay. Sounds good.
Which slides do you want to have?
Yeah, I
projected?
sent that email to Lee, so then he can put some of that up too as well.
And then here's, I brought maps too, just in case somebody had.
This is the one that's heading for North Dakota.
And this may need a CUP, so it may be coming before us at the planning and zoning at some point as well, if that is part of this process. So this is for information only today, just to let us know and be aware of what the plan is going forward. So yeah, come on up here and sit down. And if you just introduce yourself, that would be great.
I'm Dan Lederman. I'm working with Summit Carbon Solutions.
You want to talk?
Your slides are being projected on YouTube, so if you can tell me when to flip.
Oh, that's awesome.
Slide her under and get close to the mic, please.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Up close and personal. My name is Dan Lederman. I'm with Summit Carbon Solutions, and this is a briefing just to explain the project and answer any questions if you have any. But the first slide there, if you want to flip. So what we're looking at doing is taking a total of about 12 million metric tons of carbon dioxide, liquefying it, and then transporting it to North Dakota, where it would be placed approximately 5,000 feet underground into a geological formation. Currently, there's 31 facilities that have signed up to get rid of carbon on that pipeline. The pipeline is called the Midwest Carbon Express. The contracts with the ethanol plants include 7 plants that are in South Dakota. One of them is fairly close here near Watertown. We have, I think, 4 of the 7 are glacial lakes. The total pipeline route will be about 2,000 miles, and that's because there's a lot of feeder pipes. So you have the main trunk that's going to hit Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota. But then you have all the feeder pipes that would bring the carbon from those ethanol plants. Just a little history about Summit Agricultural Group. Summit Ag Investors.
You want me to go to the next slide?
Yes, sir. Sorry. So Summit Ag has been around a long time. It started back in 1990. Summit Farms. They've done integration for pork production, a lot of row crops, beef processing. They've branched out into biofuels. They operate in Brazil and in the United States doing ethanol plants. And then most recently in 2020, they created Summit Carbon Solutions, which is focusing on carbon capture. Next slide. Summit Agricultural Group today, when you look at it, they've grown to expand from row crops and cattle to finishing hogs and different types of equity firms too. It just shows the breadth of the company. Next slide. This is just an overview of the management team. These are the folks that are running the operation. The ones I deal with mostly are the government and public affairs VP, Jake Ketzner. And then as you can see down below, we have Terry Branstad, the longest serving governor in the country, is a senior policy advisor. And Martha Wersch is a senior strategic advisor, and she's worked both under President Obama and President Bush. Next slide. For this project here, Bruce Rastetter from Iowa is the founder and CEO of Summit Ag. Justin Kirchhoff is the president of Summit Ag Investors, and then John Probst, the managing director. So these are the 3 primaries that are working on the project and putting the pipeline together. Next slide. So when we look at carbon capture, I know a lot of you haven't heard much about it. When
when I first started on the project, it was pretty new to me too. But it's been around quite a while. They've been capturing carbon since for 20 years. There's never been a fatality due to carbon capture or the transfer of carbon. There's already more than 5,000 miles of CO2 pipeline in the ground in the United States right now. And from this map, you can see where the pipelines are and where the fields are that are servicing those the carbon capture.
So just to give people an idea of like what we're talking about. So this is a byproduct of ethanol production. That's okay. That
Yeah, so Summit Ag, there's a lot of companies out there that are pursuing efforts to capture carbon, but Summit Ag wants to stay in the agricultural wheelhouse, and so they've focused on ethanol plants. Right now, with what's contracted, the 12 million tons that is possible to be transported through the pipeline as configured, 9 million tons have already been contracted with those 31 ethanol plants. So there's room for another 3 million metric tons. And that might come from, if not an ethanol plant, maybe a fertilizer plant. But they wanted to stay agriculturally focused. So they're not taking carbon from any other industries. And it is a byproduct that normally would go out the smokestack. At this time, the carbon dioxide is being released into the atmosphere. This would then be brought into a capture tank and then converted into liquid form to be put into the pipeline.
okay. So is it? So I guess it's this whole carbon neutral stuff that's driving.
Yeah, the main drive is the creation of low carbon fuels standards and low carbon fuel markets. So you have states already that have passed laws that they forbid or make it hard to have any fuels that aren't deemed low carbon be used in their states. And so it closes the markets for ethanol. What this would do is make ethanol more desirable for those low carbon fuel markets and provide some sustainability for the market for ethanol.
So this would consist of a pipeline being built here in Codington County
Yes, sir.
to transfer those carbon.
Yes, sir. If
Okay.
you look at the map, I believe the route would go from Glacial Lakes to the main trunk. So,
So that's that red line that we're talking about.
yeah. And the size of the pipe changes dramatically. So on a feeder pipe, you might have as low as 4-inch or 6-inch for the size of the pipe. Whereas when you get to the main trunk, it would be closer to 20, it'd be about 20-inch, I think is the diameter of the main trunk. Basically opportunity to scale a transformational carbon capture platform. We're looking at being able to take that carbon that's produced by ethanol and turn it into an opportunity to get that transported out and make ethanol a lot more desirable of a product. If on the next slide, if you look at this, it shows next one. Yes. If you look at this chart shows the carbon intensity of ethanol. When it first started out back in the 1990s, it had a very high intensity. So there was a lot of carbon dioxide that was produced by the production of ethanol. And over the years through technology, it's been reduced. What carbon capture does is it will cut almost in half the carbon intensity score by the creation of this type of a pipeline project. And then hopefully through efficiencies that can be found with using more renewable fuels, we might be able to get that to a net zero. That's the goal of the industry, is to have ethanol be a net zero fuel. Next slide. This talks about the environmental impact. It also shows where we're at in relation to other projects around the world. If this project proceeds at the size that we're proposing, it will be the largest carbon capture processor in the world. And just to give you an idea of just how much carbon it will be taken out of the air, It'll be equal to 2.6 million cars removed from the roads per year and the powering of 1.4 million homes. And 1.4 billion gallons of gasoline consumed. So we're talking about a pretty significant amount of carbon being removed that's currently being put into the atmosphere right now, would be captured and put in underground. Next slide. So the economic impact, we're talking about a $4.5 billion project. And what it does for the local communities is a total of 14,000 to 17,000 jobs. And unlike a lot of pipelines where you have most of those jobs obviously are going to be in construction, this would have a lot more people that would be involved after the fact. That would be ongoing jobs for Codington County. We're looking for having ongoing operational jobs anywhere from 220 to 307 for the capture and compression, and then 128 to 156 to manage the pipeline. So you may have some folks that live around the area that moved in because of Dakota Access Pipeline or other pipelines. This would have more people and would have a longer time basically of having long-term jobs in the area.
Just a quick question. What's the pipeline made out of?
It's carbon steel.
Okay.
And it ranges anywhere from about 0.2 inches thickness for the smaller pipes to 0.7 inches thickness for the larger pipe. So when we look at how this impacts our total economy, ethanol, I think we can all agree has had a major impact on everything from land prices to wage prices to our whole economy. It touches everything. And so when you look at the big picture, doing this type of project to help ethanol helps boost our economy in so many different sectors. And that this diagram here explains some of the different ways that by making ethanol more sustainable for a larger market will help everybody. Next slide. And then on the sheet that I handed out, that's kind of an overview, but the key takeaways that I was hoping we could leave here with is that it is a $4.5 billion capital investment. Potential jobs, 14,500 to 17,900. Total tons of CO2 is 12 million tons annually. The area that they're looking at putting the materials can hold over 400 million metric tons. So we're talking about a pipeline that will be operating for a very long time. Reduces the ethanol carbon intensity, hopefully leading to a net zero transportation fuel. And then it's a proven safe technology. And if this is built, it would have all the most modern safety check valves along the route to make sure that if there was any type of disruption in the pipeline, that it would be able to be shut down along the way. And the last thing I brought, and I don't know if this was in your materials, but this is it's basically a diagram with a skid. This is it shows you the process of when the contractors right now, there's land agents that have been reaching out to your constituents. So you may have gotten some questions from folks asking, hey, what's going on with this? The land agents are there getting voluntary site surveys. And in this diagram that I just handed out, the skid that shows from the beginning to the end of the process, from siting to digging the trench, separating the topsoil from the earth on the bottom, then refilling and reclamation of the land. Landowners right now are being offered fair market value, 100% fair market value for the permanent easement, and then a percentage of fair market value for the temporary easement for construction. The landowners will also receive 100% compensation for crop loss the first year. And I believe it goes down 80%, 60% for the next 2 years. And that's where they're at right now, is they're negotiating with landowners on easements.
They would still be able to farm this land once the pipe is buried.
How deep is that?
I wonder,
What's the depth?
That's a good question. So the depth of the pipe from the top of the pipe to the top of the ground is 4 feet. Now, the PHMSA, Pipeline Hazardous Materials Association requirement is only 3 feet, but they're going 1 foot down. They're also 1 foot further down than what is required by state law or federal law. And then also when they pass through and they hit tiling or any other type of obstructions, there has to be a minimum of 12 inches separation. So they would then go farther down if there was like drain tile or other types of infrastructure in the way.
Yeah, that was somewhat involved with the water pipeline project up in the wet water pipeline was started in Walworth and with Brown County. And that was all plastic type pipe, or I'll just call it plastic, but and some of that pipe raised up out of the ground with the frost and stuff.
So what's the time frame again we're looking at for this?
So right now we're in the stage where we're meeting with landowners, we're meeting with county commissioners across the state. I think this is the 11th county that I've met with. The process starts officially with the application in 2022. And then if awarded the permit, construction would start in 23.
Okay.
With operations in 24.
Okay. And just, this doesn't really pertain as much to the permit, but just curious, are there federal financial incentives that go along with this kind of thing? I mean, not just ethanol overall, but for this particular kind of thing with the pipelines?
Yes, there's a tax credit called the Q45. It was initiated under the Trump presidency during the tax cuts. That would account for about 25% of the build out for the project. The rest is being paid for by ethanol plants because they want the project for their own purposes. But everything right now is on capital investment. So there is no capital outlay from the government or the ethanol plant. So this is being fully funded by private investors.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
When it's liquefied and it's piped, is it a cold product? It's cold. It's not a hot product.
That's a good question. See, when I first started meeting with counties, I didn't know a lot of these answers. I know I probably sound like an encyclopedia on some of it, but this is one of those questions that I've gotten quite a few times. And the temperature when it leaves the facility is about 90 degrees, but it neutralizes to the temperature of the pipe of the soil.
soil temperature.
So it won't be hot or cold. It'll be whatever the temperature of the earth is. And it'll be operating at about a 1200 PSI.
But so hypothetically, want to use the word very emphatically, if there would be a leak, we understand what you have an oil spill. What is the detriment to this if we have a spill?
That's a great question. So you're talking about a liquid that would then return to gas form. And it's not technically hazardous because it's in the air. We're breathing carbon dioxide right now. But it is, there is a risk if you have, because it displaces oxygen. So if you're in, let's say, a shallow area where the pipeline comes through and there's no wind, you could be asphyxiated from the carbon dioxide because it would remove the oxygen from there, it would displace oxygen. You'd be breathing just carbon dioxide. So
this is a heavier than air gas.
I believe that's what happens is it settles and then it would basically it would displace the oxygen. And that's the main hazard is that.
The cleanup procedure is?
Well, I'm not an expert on that. I can get back to you. I can't tell you
Okay,
exactly, but I believe that it just goes right into the air and that it would dissipate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. but it's not hazardous or toxic in itself, but it
Right.
is not something you want to just breathe 100% of.
All right,
Is that good?
thank you for that.
Yep,
Anyone else
thank you.
have any questions? All right, very good.
Well,
Thank
I
you
wanna- I wanna
for,
say you have a beautiful courthouse. I don't think I've ever been into the Codington County Courthouse before.
It's the best.
It's really, the amount of marble and the stained glass dome. I mean, it is just, it's a jewel. So
thank you.
thank you for having me.
Could I make a couple of points just for the sake of Mr. Lieberman too?
Can you come up,
Yeah.
Luke, so we can hear you?
Yeah, if you want to come up, Luke, please.
We have one chair left for you, Mr.
Well,
Luke.
Luke Muller, and I'll just make my points.
Turn the
For
mic
sake of
on,
the
Luke.
Zoning office here, is this on? There we go. For the sake of the zoning office, I'll just point out, it was mentioned before, pipelines are listed as a conditional use in the county zoning ordinance. The purview is relatively limited. It's, I mean, because frankly, state permit is mostly it. The main thing that we've got a lot of more purview over is the sort of thing that's above ground. We'll have questions about that when it comes in, and I'm working with the contractors right now on some of those questions as well. So those are a couple of things. One of those things, just for what it's worth, that is one of the questions, what Commissioner Waterman asked, that was one of them that I had in the back of the mind that I'd be preparing for whoever too, is that if you haven't spoken with the emergency management director to have kind of an operation, just kind of a plan of action for what would happen in the case of a spill, so that that's covered. I'm sure it would be anyway with the PUC. The other from a standpoint of, I'll just point out from my own standpoint is, you know, I get uptight over how to run meetings sometimes. This is one I was worried about. Everything was fantastic. I will just note for the Board of Adjustment, when this does come before, we will need to note that this meeting existed. And I'll probably ask Cindy, if you would scan any documents and date them that they gave you, and then we'll keep it on
The
file.
only thing that I received is those two handouts.
Yeah, basically what was
So-
presented here is all that I would need. And I know I got an email.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
received that.
Yeah, if we
Those-
just,
That
Okay,
same thing, so.
because we'll have to,
You,
send them to me. You want
Yeah.
them file dated.
I really want
And
them
I'll
file dated so
scan
that I
them
can,
back to you. Okay.
yeah, so I can
Okay.
say this is what we heard at that
Yes,
meeting.
yes,
If we do
I
it.
will,
I can do
So-
that.
That's it.
Okay.
Everything's fine. This is the sort of thing we frankly don't want to be talking about at a permit hearing, because this is a policy. These are all policy things. This is a good place to talk about it. So that's it.
all
Thanks.
right, very good.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And if you want to save some paper, I can give you my copy because.
I just
I'll
emailed it to
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, just to
And-
make sure I've got everything and,
And I'm
yeah.
glad that you brought that up because emergency managers and highway
Mhm.
superintendents, that's the next level that of county government that we'll be talking with. So.
Right, and we are in the process of hiring a new one. Hopefully that will happen by the first of the year. So
Awesome.
anyway,
Yeah, I
Until
mean, just
then-
making sure that everyone's on the same page for an emergency response is gonna be critical with this.
Oh, yeah.
mean-
Vin's comes in and at the end,
What?
we'll
Oh.
do safety briefings too. That's usually the,
Firefighters, emergency
but we will be
managers.
doing outreach to your emergency manager.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great,
yep,
thanks,
thank
Dale.
you, Dan. All right, with that, then we'll move on to item number 18, action to approve claims for payment.
I believe I left claim lists on your desk. Claims were just over $2.5 million this month. Of that amount, 1.186 million was for the Hall Road restoration. A little over 905,000 were county bills, and a little over 500,000 went to the state of South Dakota. On the first page there, I just highlighted something that is, it's an annual invoice. That is our maintenance agreement for our touchscreen voting machines and our vote scanners. That's the amount we have to pay annually to keep those things running, service. Did anybody have any questions? I don't think I had. On page 6, we did make payment for the new is it the camera and lock system in the detention center that we were project?
Yeah.
In about the
Yeah,
middle of
it
the
was taking a
page.
while. It was taking a while for them to
Yes.
get there.
Yeah, and I
but, yeah.
don't think it's quite done yet, so we are holding that check until Brad gets, gives us the final okay, or Brad will be holding the check. Oh, on page 9, there were a couple of projects you approved at the Ag building. One was the handicap door operator for Brian's Glass and Door. That bill is highlighted there, $2,434.47. And then the additional outlets were installed in the, is it the barn area?
Yes.
For $1,745. On page 10 is our annual agreement with First District Association for $44,721.10.
I think this is the last year of that, and that will, they'll be taking a look of going forward on what those fees will be.
Okay,
according
anyway,
to-
that is all I have, unless you had questions on anything on, right now.
Move to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Johnson, second by Van Duzen. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item number 19, action to approve automatic budget supplements.
So I have 3 of those today. The first one is $1,121,588.07. And that is the bill that we were paying to the to Dunick for the Hall Road restoration. We'll supplement the highway budget since we did receive funds for that. The
That's the
second one is in the amount of $4,000. And that is for our hazmat plan update with the state of South Dakota. We received a $4,000 grant for that. And the final one is also the highway budget, $450,000 was, we received a check from Butler Cat for the trade-in of 3 motor graders. We can supplement the highway budget to offset the cost of the new graders, which will be, I think, the end of this month, we'll be paying that bill just over $900-some thousand. So those 3 supplements.
Move to approve.
All right, motion by Gable,
Second.
second by Van Duzen. Anybody have any comments or questions?
So that first one is that, it's the one,
It's the Hall Road, and I did have
The $1
to,
million
I had to lower it from the amount we actually paid because of that $64,000 change
Yeah.
order that we paid in error. We received
Right, okay.
we're gonna be receiving a
Credit.
refund check
Yeah.
for that, so
Okay.
it'll all offset. Expenditures and revenues will result in a net of 0, so.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Action to approve personnel changes.
I have nothing for 19 or 20.
Okay, public notices, quorum of commissioners.
about 21, anything for 21?
Pardon?
21.
Travel request.
Oh, I
She
said
said-
20 and 21.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry, I think I said 19 and 20.
I thought you said 20
I'm-
and 21.
Yep.
Yeah, I knew we were on that one, so, okay. Quorum of commissioners, do we have anything that we can think of that there could be a quorum of us at? I don't have any. Okay, old business. Do you have any old business? How about new business? Anything for the open? I would just mention that I did go to the SDACC board meeting. And just so you know, we changed next fall's convention in September will be Tuesday, Wednesday instead of Monday, Tuesday, because individuals were not wanting to travel on Sunday. So we're going to try that and see how it works. And it will be in Pier next year. And then after that, 2023 will be Sioux Falls, and then 2024 will move out to West River. So we have that figured out. We had a speaker from UJS, Greg Sadazan was in, and he talked about, they have pilot counties that they're going in and doing assessments of their safety in the courthouses. And that really is a wide range of smaller counties to larger counties. So there was some pilots. We were not one of those, unfortunately. Brookings and Minnehaha were, and then some other ones, West River. It's really interesting when you talk to some of these individuals, like we have our security, booth downstairs, so we're pretty good, but some of them have absolutely nothing, and they don't have the funds to do it. But there's other ways you can do things like screening on windows or just simpler things. So they're kind of taking a look at that to help make security a little bit better in these other counties. So with that, that was kind of the highlights. We're still working on those resolutions, or, to see which ones we're gonna go forth with. I think the plan is they'll probably all 3 go. It'll just be a timing thing, so.
Just
And you can go ahead and, if you want to explain the
Yeah, just comment on our setup here. It's kind of somewhat based on a security assessment done by the US Marshals that was requested by one of the judges at the time. I want to say that was done, if memory serves, in the 90s. And that assessment basically called for like an airport security check through, like set up outside the building. So this is something, what we have now is kind of a adaptation of that, but within the footprint of the courthouse. So
The thing that has typically happened is mandates are set down by UJS with no funding follows it, and we just need to comply. So hopefully that will start changing, and they've realized, a lot of counties can't afford these sort of things.
yeah, I think they were trying to, as I recall, because sounds like something we got to hear during the convention, and when I was sitting in on that session, and Mr. Sadison talked about kind of a small grant program. I think he was looking at
Yes.
a small appropriation to help counties do if they needed to do that. So
They have that in place already, and you
Okay.
can apply for them. Yes. All right, so with that was the main highlights, I guess. Going forward, there will be some things we'll be wanting to watch out in Pier, and if we can get people involved, that would be great when needed. So I'll try to keep you guys in tune with what's going on and when it's important for us to show up. That's it for me. Does anyone else have anything for the open? How about, do we have a need for an executive session?
Real quick before we adjourn, can we get a status on the EM position, where we're at with the hiring on that? Because I've had some people contact me wondering what's going on with it. I know we're getting down there, so.
Yeah, so I think we talked about this last week, so it's kind of the same where we're at, but overall, we will be doing in-person interviews this Friday. And we did have one candidate that we had selected for that did decide to withdraw. As he looked at, it was an external candidate from out of state, looked at housing options and things within the state and pay and benefits and all that. Did decide to pull out, but yeah, so we'll be doing that Friday and reference checks and all that. And so hopefully we can make an offer early next week.
So how many
This is
do
the
we have
number
now?
now.
So 3,
3. Okay.
yes.
All right.
And we'll be contacting, the timeline for contacting all the other individuals will be soon so that they.
Yeah, after we get the position filled, we'll let
Yeah,
everybody
right.
know. Yep. where
We
we're at.
just
Thanks for
want-
the update.
Yep, thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Okay, with that,
I moved to adjourn again.
all right, motion by Johnson, second by Gable, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, we are adjourned.